Hello, Amber Vilhauer here, and I am delighted to introduce my NGNG audience to Lynn Smith. And I know that I am sort of new to your audience as well, Lynn, but we are going to dive deep today into voice and positioning of the entrepreneur's journey, how to really help your message land. And this comes from a very special place back in Lynn's history. And I don't want to spoil it, but I mean, you were a producer on the Today Show. So, I mean, just throwing that out there, people immediately sort of perk up at the power of that and what that meaning must hold. But you have an upcoming book that's coming out. I pre-ordered it and you can see it just in her background, Just Keep Going. So I really want to dig into that. We have so much alignment between our messages. So, I mean, I'm fangirling Lynn over here, as I know some of her audience is doing as well. But Lynn, thank you for just being here and opening up a really difficult conversation that a lot of entrepreneurs are faced with.
Amber, thanks for having me. I mean, it's a conversation that I had to learn over the course of 15 years. So be graceful with yourself if you're still struggling with it. And there are still times where I struggle with it. It's the whole point of why we try and get this message out there.
Yeah, me too. Well, I mean, in my summertime, Lynn, a lot has unfolded around AI because although AI is not new, it really hit the marketplace in a different kind of way in May. And if you thought it was difficult to get your voice and message out before, it's definitely different now. My stance on it is the more we tap into our own personal alignment, the more we share our authentic voice, it is the differentiator. It is what is going to help people to connect with you naturally, activate, and want to participate in getting your message out to the world. So I'm curious, if I say this is what I'm up to in the world and what I'm seeing, what would be that same for you? What have you experienced this summer specifically?
I'll take it even one step further. I think the future leader, business owner, human is leading with presence capital. And here's what I mean. It's going to replace your skill capital. It's going to replace even financial capital because everything can be automated. AI can do your job. What it can't do is it cannot replicate your presence. It can't replicate your energy. It can't replicate how you can influence someone purely from how you walk into a room and then how you put together your words and the energy that they feel when they're talking to you. So I just wrote an article actually for Forbes Council that the presence, your executive presence, or even just your presence in life is going to be how you survive in the age of AI. So I'm a little less on the fear side of everything that AI is going to demolish. And I'm more on this is going to make people crave authenticity even more because everything out there is going to be robotic. Even if they make it sound human, they're going to crave authenticity.
Absolutely. And actually, this is why I'm big on live streaming because you can't fake it live. Like we're here, it's happening.
Except if my child comes running in, which is entirely possible.
I mean, this is life, you know, and I feel like I've been waiting for this moment in entrepreneur land. I got started back in 2007, Lynn. And so I've seen all of the different iterations and just waiting for that moment of authenticity to really strike. And I'm curious, what do you do or what do you recommend to keep your energy up and to be bright in the world? Because so many people are coping, they're exhausted, they're in avoidance. And I'm not a doom and gloom person either, but you can just sort of feel the weight in a lot of people. What do we do to help them, you know, create that energy to be a little bit more magnetic and bright in the world?
So first, I'm not going to tell you write down your 3 things that you're grateful for, right? Like I'm not going to tell you to meditate either. I'm really tired of this because I have a hard time sitting up for 5 minutes. Okay. But here is what I am going to talk to you about. It's elevating every single moment when you are in high stakes communications. So I tried to find some research behind, I had this idea of explaining to people how they have to talk in sound bites. So I created what I call the 3 to 30 rule. So within 3 seconds, you have to get someone to like you. And within 30, you have to say something to get them to trust you. But I wanted some research behind it, not just like news anchor Lynn says that this is why she's found someone to be good television. And what we found that I am including in a lot of my content is it's actually 1/10 of a second that the brain has an impression of you. So the second I showed up, actually 1/10 of a second I showed up on this live stream, your audience, who's probably new to me, is either like, oh, who is that? Or maybe, oh, she's annoying, or whatever it is that they thought. Because like whatever, I heard all the things when I was a news anchor. I'd get all the emails like, you're talking too loud. You talk with your hands. Whatever that is, your brain has made that first impression. And research also found no matter how much information you try and feed the brain to tell it otherwise, it's already made that impression. It's why there's never a second chance for a first impression. It's why typically your gut knows no matter what anyone says. So knowing that, I would challenge everyone, when you want to become a magnetic communicator, when you walk into the room, you are thinking about what energy and what vibration that you are putting out there. Walking in with that before you even say anything. And this applies to your Zoom calls. It applies to your social videos. It applies to your sales calls. So imagine if somebody's already decided something about you before you even start giving them a pitch. The second piece behind what you talked about, which was more on the challenging piece, we're all drained. We're creating content. We're hustling for sales calls. We're doing launches. It's never ending, right? The whole point of why I wrote the book, Just Keep Going, is because I wanted to give what I've used throughout my career and what I now train executives to have, this mentality that sometimes it's just putting one foot in front of the other. It's not being happy all the time. No, sometimes it's giving yourself a hug, because that's the best thing you can do. Jumping up and down, which we talk about in the book, the physical strategies to overcome this. It's not toxic positivity. It's not everything's going to be rosy and you've got to be happy all the time. It's just put one step in front of the other, even if you're going through the hardest of times, even if you're in fear that you're going to fail, pushing through, because what's on the other side of what you're going through is the destination that you're seeking. It's when you stop and you stop yourself in that fear that you get stuck. And that's really what those two pieces, I would say, if you walk away from anything, elevate every moment and just keep going.
I'm laughing so hard because a phrase that I use all the time is elevate every experience.
I love it. And I knew we were aligned.
Amber. I know, it's amazing. You know, that comes from when I was growing up, my mom used to say, leave the campground better than when you found it.
Yeah, I love that.
And I love that, right? So when I go into a Zoom room and I'm meeting somebody for the first time, you know, it's always like, oh, hi, Lynn, how are you? So what the country are you calling in from? And I'm like, bored. Hi. Like, I have this big energy. I mean, obviously you can see both of our backgrounds are very intentional, and I want to bring the energy, you know, because of that first impression that you said.
Yeah.
Second thing that really resonates is the fear piece, right? So NGNG, my company name, it stands for No Guts, No Glory. Also a phrase my mom used to say all the time growing up. So you're seeing a thread here.
Gosh, your mom is like a Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah, all the parenting tips.
Yeah. But like, you know, being an entrepreneur, getting your face out in the world, saying what you really want to say. These are big, scary things, especially if you have an outdated belief like I used to, that is, when I am seen and heard, bad things happen. That's actually an outdated belief that I used to have. And only when I pinpointed that and did the work to sort of course correct, did I recognize that I had way more control over that resistance, the icky feelings of marketing, and that I could actually move through the difficult things, because on the other side of that, impact would be inevitable. And as a strategist, I'm a person that says we have to start with the end in mind. What do you really want to experience next in this life? Because you actually do have a choice, even if it doesn't feel like it some days. And so by looking at the type of life that you want to have, we can start to map backwards between where you are and where you're going. And this you know, perseverance, the resilience, and how you're able to adapt, everything that Lynn is talking about are essential tools and ingredients to get you where you want to go. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into the book, Lynn. Where did this come from? Like, tell me the moment you were like, I know, I want to write this book. And what was the journey like for you? What were some of the moments where you had to just keep going? Maybe you were challenged along the way. I'm just curious to expose that a little bit.
Well, let's talk about those 3 words, just keep going, and where that came from. I'm beginning to share this more and more. I was going through an incredibly challenging time in my early 30s, and it was just the lowest of lows. And I had one of my dear friends from college text me, and she simply said, just keep going. And it was like the 3 words I needed in that moment. I didn't have there was no rescue plan. It was like, you're going to be okay. Everything's going to work out. All of those things. It just, you're like, no, it doesn't feel right. It was just keep going that got me through that. But then also other challenging times, becoming a mother, which is the most beautiful, wonderful thing ever, but also comes with a whole list of challenging things where you're questioning yourselves. You're afraid of everything. You're afraid you're going to do something wrong. Becoming an entrepreneur after spending 15 years as a news anchor. I didn't even know how to do an Excel spreadsheet, let alone run a business. And so I always called upon those 3 words. And as I began coaching Fortune 500 executives, I expected them, because they're at the top of their game, to just be fearless, right? That's how they got there. But what I realized when they hired me to make them magnetic communicators, whether that was for investor calls or keynotes or television appearances, I would continuously try to fix what they were saying. Well, nothing would work when I would do it that way. I was treating the symptom. And the disease was actually their fear. When I started asking them the question, what are you afraid of? 100% of the time, I got some version of a fear of failure, a fear of being found out, a fear of like not feeling enough,
everyone.
right? So it's like it fell into the category of like a quadrant of qualms, like that I felt that I created because it was so prevalent. It came up again and again. Once we treated the fear, they showed up and they were able to take what I have at that are my tactical lessons, how to talk in sound bites, how to drill down your messaging, how to make sure you don't ramble, say, so all the things. All of that went away once we treated the fear. And so I thought, well, why are these wildly successful executives? Why do they have such fears? Well, it's because think about it. We are bred to be fearful, right? Like those experiences that you're talking about speaking up and needing to stay small, that's pretty much ingrained in us at a young age, whether we were laughed at a speaking thing or whether or not somebody made fun of us, or the fact that we are told get great grades, be first place. We're never told fail. It's great to fail. And those people that were told that, like a Sarah Blakely, who shares often that her father sat around the dinner table and said, what'd you fail at today? She went on to create $1 billion company because she didn't lack fear. She just wasn't going to let it stop her. So I wanted to be able to create a book that this could start in the classroom, that resiliency and no fears of failure, rather I'm able to push through, was learned at 6 and not 46, because I had to learn this at a late age. Trust me, I can sit here and I'm not preaching. I'm just saying I went through years and years and years of pounding my head against the wall trying to learn this lesson. So now I'm trying to teach it as early as possible, in addition to teaching the executives that are already struggling with it themselves.
Yes. And I love your angle to it. So mine's a little bit different, where it was a year and a half ago, and I was sitting down to write my book. The first one, even though it's kind of an industry joke that I've been making everybody else a bestseller, but for nearly 20 years, I still didn't have my own book. And somebody finally said, you need to do this now. And I thought, okay, well, of the thousands of people that I've worked with over the years, what do they all have in common? Like what book wanted to emerge? And it was in an instant, they were all out of alignment. And I thought, out of alignment? What does that even mean? Have I even said that before? And I started going back and looking at like the deeper work that I do. So it wasn't just launching books. It wasn't just building brands and doing marketing and all the fun things that I've been doing. It really comes down to helping people address that fear and that resistance, because a book launch will bring up all of your garbage, all of it. And I was the one that was like behind the scenes, like helping authors navigate it. And what I recognized is it does come back to these outdated beliefs that would knock them out of alignment. And then they would have this resistance to asking their friends to send a promotional email. They would have resistance to showing up on a live stream, or they would have resistance to offering a continuation group coaching thing or whatever it was. And they were just self-sabotaging their own results because they didn't know what to do. So the deeper part of my work all of this time that I finally put into like a framework was really to get people into alignment. And a piece of it, because we don't need to go into detail about it here, you can access it anywhere on my platform. But a piece of it is helping entrepreneurs to identify the one person that they are uniquely qualified to be in service to, your avatar. And what I have found for my audience is that they are heart-centered. They want to be in service. That's when they feel most alive, is when they are helping other people. So if we can imagine that we're not just here to try to fit in with everybody else, the sea of noise and influence.
Sea of sameness, which I like to call it.
Totally. And AI is only making that worse. If we can really tap into the one person that we're uniquely qualified to serve, and there's even like a visualization process to get this person to emerge really quickly, all of a sudden our fear goes away, because a lot of that fear too is us thinking about ourselves.
Right.
What do I look like? What am I going to sound like? What if I mess up? What if they find out?
Are they gonna like this? Right.
Yeah, exactly. But if we can shift that and instead be in service, that fear diffuses and you find this courage to get up and get your message out there anyway. So, yeah.
And I just recently had somebody else talk to me a lot about alignment, in that when you push so hard, right? So if something disappointing happens, so I've been talking about this on Instagram that you shared. Thank you for that. When I had all of these rejections for Just Keep Going, and I saved them all because I knew one day I would be able to share them. And it was just so crazy for me to put these onto Instagram. And it was one after the other of, it's a wonderful, heartwarming story. It's just not right fit for me right now. And all of these things, I could have seen that no as resistance. And I could have just kept pushing through it, kind of like when you're swimming into a rip current. Well, you drown when you swim into a rip current. So instead of looking at your no's as resistance, begin switching it to the on mentality, turning on that Just Keep Going mentality. And instead of resistance, imagine it as a current. And what would you do if it were a current? You would let it guide you. You would let it take you. And it might not end up at this part of the beach, but you'd end up at the right part of the beach that you need to be. And you move with that current. And I found when I got all of those no's with Just Keep Going, I refined the message. I tweaked this. I did things that elevated the story, in which it became what it is now. It would have never been the book that it is had it not gone through those rejections. And so I'm eternally grateful to every single editor out there at the biggest publishing houses in the world that gave me that no. And then to that one yes, another huge publisher, Sourcebooks Kids, that saw what this message had become. And because I was with them, they partnered me with, I would say, the most talented illustrator in the world. Like, she is beyond what she
Her illustrations are gorgeous.
Unbelievable, off the charts. And all I said was, I just want Mouse to be whimsical and magical, because that's the goal for children, is to see the potential in the Just Keep Going mentality. And so had I not gone through all of that, it would not be what it is when it comes out September 30th. And I just encourage everybody out there that's sitting in their no. I've recently gone through a lot of no's. I continue to go through no's. I'm not immune to it. The no's don't go away. Reframe what those are, turn it to ons, and make your resistance your current.
So everybody, you've got to order several copies of the book. Don't just get one, because holidays are upon us. So this is like the perfect gift for all the little ones in your life, and not just little ones. So I have this little box that I send every single time that somebody onboards as a new NGNG client. And inside of the box, Lynn, is a little children's book called The Carrot Seed. And it was made decades ago. And it's this old school, funky little children's book. And I just think it has such an epic message that that's the gift, along with other little goodies that I gave inside of this box. So even gifts for your clients. You could also consider Clay's book, The Long Forest Trail. I've just got to do it. I mean, what kind of mother would I be if I did not?
We give Clay a shout out. He wrote this book when he was 6 years old. Everybody, I'm sending you my book. I love that you're sending me his book, but I'm also going to order it because I'm a big fan of supporting authors. He's 8 now. He has a book signing at Amber's next event. I mean, this is what it's all about. My 6-year-old is like, Mom, can I write the next book with you? And it's just, I can't say enough of what happens in children when they find their confidence early, and to see what that does for them. And if we can start this at a young age, imagine the world that would become. They'd be the future CEOs. They're the future partners to people out there, the future friends that come from such a different place where they're not paralyzed by these things, but they're empowered by these things. So kudos to Clay.
Thank you.
Everyone go out and order his book.
Well, and I'm just going to say this publicly. This is what I love about live streaming, is if anybody is watching and thinking like, oh my gosh, that's a really good idea, I'd love to do this with my kid, then why don't you message me, message Len, and maybe we could do some sort of like group thing together where I know Clay has been bugging me about the next book that he wants to write, which is What Nature Teaches Us. And it sounds like Len wants to embark. I mean, I know she's in book launch season, so it will be sometime next year. But just saying, if you think that that would be fun to participate in something like that with us, let us know and we'll see where it goes.
That's awesome.
Lynn, so something that I like to ask people is, what's your vision with all of this? I mean, you have this audience captivated and, you know, you are building toward something, you know, and I'm just curious if you could cast this vision for us so that we know how to best support you in this journey and to help make it come alive, this magical, whimsical vision that you might have.
Here's something that I gave up when I walked away from my 15-year career, the 5-year plan. I think that the destination, and I love your concept of like reverse engineering the outcome and making sure that you reach that destination. I learned though that living in the present moment of what is happening, which so many people have been reaching out to me with the just keep going mentality, like the movement is happening on its own because this message is needed now more than ever, not just for our kids, but for us. Just like you said, we're burnt out. We are exhausted. We are constant, like it's never enough. And now all of a sudden AI is taking our lives and our jobs. Like, what can we do to be able to get centered in the moment of where we are living, in the moment of what we are doing, knowing and trusting that the outcome could look completely different than what we envision. So the only thing that I care about is that this message reaches the masses, because I've seen the transformation for myself in when I live this way. And then of course the people that I work with. And it's like, it's kind of like at the end of When Harry Met Sally. It's like, if you know who you want to spend the rest of your life with, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you know what your life could look like, if you embrace this mentality, you want that life to begin as quickly as possible. So the outcome would be immediate of that. It's letting that life for yourself happen today, tomorrow, immediate future, so that you can start living this life that's so much more fulfilling than I'm trying to reach this 5-year goal.
Thank you. That is exactly the message that I hope gets out 100%. The way that I teach vision is not like, I want to help 1 million people accomplish whatever it is. And that's beautiful that you have a heart of service, but you don't know how to achieve that. You don't know when you achieved it. And it's like you're on the hamster wheel.
That's right.
So instead, I like to think about the present moment. And so my vision, Lynn, is to help the individual in front of me feel heard, seen, and valued. That is my big vision in the world. Whomever is in front of me, this is what I want. And that means that I get to achieve my vision every single day. It's a very different approach. And once again, feeling very aligned with you, which is awesome. And so then my probably last question for you, in case there's anything else that you want to shift my way, or we'll just end here, which is, what is really in your heart and mind to share with humanity that you haven't talked about so far? Which I know is a really big question. And sometimes when I'm working with my clients, I'll have them pull out a piece of paper. And at the top, it just says, what I really want to say is ... And it's like, what is that expression that like you might be thinking about when you're in your quiet moments of like, gosh, I really hope that this comes across, or that people learn this or receive that. what would that be for you?
I would say that many people might be listening and say, well, that sounds great, but I feel paralyzed. It's like, just be fearless or don't be afraid of failure. And so I do this exercise often with keynotes that I'm working with people, and I ask everybody to close their eyes. And I ask them to picture their life 5 years from now and nothing has changed. So they're still in the job that they're not happy with, or their business is still not crossing over that threshold of growth, or they're not making the relationships happen that they want to have happen. The whole reason that they come bring me to speak, I need to be closing deals. It's not happening. All of the different reasons. Picture sitting in that moment. What does that feel like? Frustrating. Why? What am I doing wrong? All of those feelings and emotions. And then I simply say, courage is an easy choice when you consider the alternative. So it's so much easier to go and do the thing when you consider what the alternative is. And if we looked at it in that way, I mean, that's how I had the courage to walk away from a very lofty contract in TV news and start a business from scratch, not knowing any idea about how to even run books. I mean, it's like, I don't know how it happened, but it was because of that mentality that I had the courage to do it. Did it mean there were a lot of sleepless nights? Of course. Everyone's human, but you do it in spite of that. So if you walk away with anything today, it is courage is an easy choice when you consider the alternative.
Amazing. And I think I would wrap by saying, a guiding question that I live by is, who would you be proud to be?
Oh, I love that. What is your
in any moment, right? Like the alarm goes off and you're like, I don't really want to do that. I'm going to sleep in and be late and start my day that way. Well, is that who you would be proud to be? How you treat other people, how you treat yourself. And sometimes you are so like sitting in this place of like discomfort and angst and frustration and exhaustion that you don't know what to do in the moment. And in that moment, I'm like, well, who would my future self be proud of? Like, what do I do for that?
I now need to hear what that answer is.
Yeah, well, it just depends on whatever is present in front of me. But I will say that 100% of the time, it helps me move through my discomfort or what I think I don't want to do in the moment. It's sort of like at the end of the night, you could leave all of your dishes in the sink, but then you wake up in the morning, you're not proud of that, right? So it's like I do the thing that I don't necessarily want to do in that moment. But then the next morning I come down, the kitchen is pristine, my coffee's ready for me. The day is full of possibility and I'm not feeling behind and frustrated and grossed out. I mean, so honestly, a lot of what I do comes down to that one question. And maybe that might help people move through some of their fear as well.
I absolutely love that question. And I think that that's like, put a Post-it on your computer. So that when you're just having a bad day, you're just like, let me go to Amber's Post-it, because that can pull you back into alignment real fast. Amber, I have loved this conversation. I really appreciate you sharing the just keep going mentality. And for all of you out there that are listening and watching, I hope truly every single day you make that choice to just keep going.
Oh, me too. Thank you everyone for supporting Lynn. Please share this, tag your friends. We'll see you on the next one.